right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. And we are getting Dom in here. I started the room, Dom. I'm in here. Brian's in here. We got Body Zen Mama coming in. Have you found it on Clubhouse? Is your Clubhouse cooperating with you?
I'm close.
Okay, he's close. He's coming in, folks. So here we go. Not the smartest guys in the room. I wasn't here last week. I heard it was an exciting room. But I'm glad to be back this week. I was actually on a shoot. So I was doing picking up a shoot for Delish and helping them out with some stuff as they're moving offices and filming a mural install. Dom, we can hear you on the live stream right now if you want to chime in. Dominick is updating his app. So yeah, technology as always playing a role.
Well, this is fancy. We've proved we're not the smartest guys in the room multiple ways, but this is a new way to prove. I go to the app and it's going up, up, up. Dominick, you did such a bad job last week. We don't want you. So I'm going to keep trying to upload it or see what's going on here.
Well, I think it's so it's just what is it? Just a regular old app update.
I don't even know. I push on it and it's just going black right now. So I am assuming that I need to go into my app store and update the app. So I'm going to try that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and chat with Brian here for a minute. Brian, how are you doing this morning, my friend?
Doing well, friend. How are you? Congratulations on your shoot.
Thank you. Oh, you know what? Hang on a second. I think I have to fix some technology on my end. It looks like we are not getting sound out of Clubhouse on my end. I literally replaced my computer last week, and so I have to dial in the settings, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Brian, why don't you tell us what's new in your world?
Always moving forward, trying to learn more technology, promote the last book I put out, which is Developing True Grit, and trying to collaborate with some more people like Susie Locum and others, just in terms of getting guests on my radio show and starting to get pick up and get a little busier with clients, which is really nice. I wanted to try to grow the coaching end of the business because it's just something that is organically grew just to a small point. I didn't need it to grow large, but I'm at a point now where I've changed some things and stepped away from a few things. So now I'm just trying to grow it, which it's interesting out there trying to figure out what's the best technology to use, and that's been keeping me busy. So it's all been good.
Nice. I was just telling Dom actually as we were getting in the room here that I just got the website from my publisher, the link to the website for my book, my first book, coming out in later this summer. So probably looking at like late summer for release. Don't have an official release date, but I'll throw the link up in the top for everybody, and you can get notified when the book becomes available, and you can read the blurb from the back cover and see the cover art.
Very cool. Who did your cover art?
The publisher and I did it together.
Nice.
So yeah, but let me throw that link in real quick, and everybody can take a peek at it. Dom, you're in the room.
Yeah, man, and I got a new profile picture here. I decided to go with this picture of me and ET. You know, like people have all these professional pictures. I decided me and ET is the way I want to go here. Okay, I'm back. I messed I don't know what I did. I needed to upload apps. I'm all out of sorts. Ever since Tom wasn't here last week, I've been out of sorts. We can't have that happen. Oh, Prof T's in the house. Joyce is in the house. Uh, let's see here. So Tom, what do? We click on your website and let's look at Tom's book. Go to link. I'm going to do that. Go to link. Okay, world change. Ooh, legendarian under lights, and Tom always tells us about lights. So I'm reading the front of it. The brand new but tried and true video communication strategy to humanize your business. Looks like at a rock concert. Okay, I'm liking it. Tom looks pretty good.
Thanks, bud. So if you click on get notified when the book is available, you can throw your email address in there, and we will keep you guys up to date on when it's being released and pre-orders and all that good stuff.
Good stuff, man. So this is not the smartest guys in the room. Tom's about to get married here in a couple weeks. He was out on a shoot last week. I did a self-tape audition last week. I didn't get it. That tis life. Sometimes that happens. Tom gave me some suggestions. I should have redone the tape, and maybe I would have done better. Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about today is taking action. So let's say whether it's making a video, whether it's writing a book, taking action, sustaining, and then not quitting. So on any of those projects, like Tom writing a book, like at what point did you say, like, I'm going to do this, and Brian and Joyce, like whether it's podcasting or at what point does it become real? So Brian, lead us off with that. Like, at what point for you is it I'm doing it? Is it when you write it down? Is it when you tell somebody? What makes it real?
Well, I'm one of those people that likes to put things out there because then I feel this pressure to have to succeed. And it's nothing. I mean, some people may think that's crazy, but I've been doing that for years, even at work when they asked for a sales quota and you had to put out a sales quota, and putting out a small one does not get you in favor, and missing a big one does not get you in favor. But I like always putting out a stretch sales goal that I was comfortable knowing I'm going to be darn close. I need a couple things to fall my way, and I knew there were going to be a couple things that fell off. So with a book, to me, it starts with in the mind of the why. Why do I think this story would help somebody? Why do I think it's a good story? What was somebody gain from reading this book? And then for me, it gets real once I start writing it, and then telling very few people that I have a book in the works, because I have some books that have taken 2 years and some books that have taken a year, and I can't say one's better than the other. So you never really know in terms of, I don't think I could ever place a date. I'm like, well, I'm going to write a book this summer. I don't think I could do that because it might not just come to me, the things I want said. More importantly, what after you have somebody start to read some of it, the key with that is, what are they hearing when they read the book? And if they're not getting out of it what I wanted to impart on people, then it's kind of back to scratch. So for me, it's when I start kind of mentioning it to somebody, I'm complete.
Go ahead, Dom.
No, I hear you, man. And they talk about taking oath, and like Tom's getting married soon. I'm sure he's going to stand up and take an oath in front of somebody. Is that the point it gets real when you, like, even political officers and stuff, they take an oath and swear on Bibles and books and things like that? Is there a point? Is that the reason, right? Once you tell it to the world, tell it to the world. Now, some people would say don't tell the world because then they're going to steal your ideas. But then we would say, well, they're never going to steal your exact idea. But when, Tom, then Joyce, when does it become real to you?
I mean, for me, writing a book became real when I was actually approached about it. So I, leave it to me to not actually take the initiative on my own. But I was approached and by my publisher to have a conversation, and she said to me, you've got a book in you, and I want to help you get it out there. And it was very clear what the book was going to be about. So it's all about my legendeering strategy. And the whole idea is to kind of provide you with a foundation in understanding what the strategy is, how it works, and why it works. And we do that through, kind of explanation, but also through anecdotes and telling stories about other brands and other businesses that have employed elements of this strategy, and stories from my own career. And then the sort of last third of the book, we give you the information you need to operationalize the strategy. So how to actually put it in motion, how to get started with it on your own. And so, yeah, but for me, it became real when I got approached about it, just pure and simple. So it was something that I had floated around in my head. Like, it wasn't the first time that the idea had ever crossed my mind, but it really became real when somebody said, let's do this. I can help you. And I want to help you. And that's when it became real for me, was when I got that offer, essentially, of help. But yeah. And then I've been talking about it, as for the last year that we've been working on it. So that's how I've kept it real for me. But yeah, what about you, Joyce?
Good morning. I like this topic. Good morning. I think telling people, once you tell people, it makes it real. And I've been thinking a lot about purpose lately. I listened to a great podcast yesterday, The Hidden Brain. They're talking about purpose and how important this is just to be healthy and happy and have a focus, and the difference between purpose and goals. So I've always had this vision of 5 years. I've been thinking about this topic, cannabis romance. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. So a goal was to write it, which I did, and I was telling people about it, and now I'm posting a lot about it on my LinkedIn, asking people if they're interested in Instagram, and I'm going to start putting chapters in my newsletter, like old school, when people used to read chapters of books in newspapers back in the day. So I think just telling people about it makes it real, and then I don't know, kind of how it works with your purpose and your goals. I think that's how it works for me. So that's my take on it.
Joyce, is there a point if it becomes real? So let's say, like you and Tom, it is real because you started talking about it, you started working on it. Is there a point along the way where you're like, oh, maybe it's not real? I mean, like,
oh yeah, all the time.
Oh
yeah, but I'm like one of those people. Once I decide I'm going to do something, I'm a terrible multitasker. I've been saying this my whole life. I cannot multitask, which is a problem when you're a mom and a worker and have kids. And now I understand that you can do one thing at a time. So I'm really focused. When I decide I'm going to do something, when I say it out loud, when I decide it's a thing that's going to be part of my future, the future me wants this done, I am very driven. So even though I know that there's ups and downs and sometimes it feels silly. I mean, I've been writing this book. I've created the characters, made the world. I wrote it. That alone seems like I should get some kind of like award. But I kept going, and I started telling people, and now it's finished. So I think that's yeah. There's always ups and downs. Always, yeah. You have to work through it. You have to push through it.
It's funny, Joyce, that you mentioned multitasking. I've read some research on this, and one of the interesting things is they've found in research that multitasking is, broadly speaking, a myth. That no one actually does multiple things simultaneously well or very well. Some people can do multiple things simultaneously better than other people, as is true with everything, right? Some people are better at certain things than other people. That's true kind of across the board. But nobody actually does multiple things well simultaneously. It's not a real thing. Multitasking is not really a real thing. And it gets, there's this sort of mythos attached to it that drives me nuts, because people say, oh, so-and-so needs to be a better multitasker, or so-and-so needs to be a better, and it's like, no, that's not true. You need to be better at completing small tasks and then moving on to the next task. That's sort of the key to the illusion of multitasking, is that you're not actually doing multiple things at once. You're breaking things down into smaller tasks and doing a lot of small tasks in quick order, right? But that's the sort of the peek behind the curtain on what multitasking really is. It's not really a real thing. And if somebody says to you, you should get better at multitasking, then you should turn around and say, actually, that's not a real thing, and nobody's good at it, even if you think you're good at it. And I'm gonna find some of the research on it. So if anybody's interested, ping me, and I'll shoot you a DM with an article or two that you can cite at people. But yeah, multitasking is not a real thing. Stop trying to do it. Anyway, rant over. Sorry.
How good do I got to be at multitasking? What if I'm riding my bike? Is listening to music wrong when I'm riding my bike?
I mean, I wouldn't really call that multitasking, because listening to music is a passive activity,
Okay.
right? So
Although I think you should be listening to the world when you're outside. I think that is my other pet peeve, is I do not wear headphones when I'm walking around. If I'm going to leave my house and go outside and see the world, I want to experience the world. I'm like inside my head enough. So it could be considered multitasking, I think.
Joyce, there's I'm a big fan of David Goggins, and he says when you're out exercising and stuff that you shouldn't wear headphones and things, because you should be feeling the pain 100% and then appreciating that, rather than having something on in the background that takes you out of this whatever activity you're in. Now, Goggins is an ultra marathoner like our friend Tom here in Iron Man, so what they do may be different than the rest of us. But all right, let's continue along. Prof T, what do you got to say? Not the smartest guys in the room. Is there a point in a project where you're like, should I keep going? Should I stop? How do you know at that point, right? You're going, you believe in yourself, but maybe it's going to be another 2 years. Maybe it hasn't worked out yet. Maybe it's not profitable yet. How do you know, Prof T? Teach us.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good to see you all. Congratulations, Tom. Best of luck. Love the topic. And I got to touch on, Tom, what you were saying about multitasking, because you're absolutely right. I mean, I teach this stuff with, mental health and wellness and human potential. And studies have shown that multitasking is a myth, as you call it. Our brain is not designed to multitask. Multitasking actually means simultaneously focusing on something. So our brain can't really focus on two things at once. So it is true. We are not born to multitask. We are not designed to multitask. And I think that's really what's wrong with a lot of our young people, and a lot of things we're seeing. With overuse of social media and devices, it starts to dull parts of your brain because you can only focus on one thing at a time. So while you're walking, I'm talking to you, I'm listening to people talk. If I don't pay attention to walking, I'm going to trip over this curb or fall or bang into a tree. So I think you're absolutely right. I don't get all wadded up anymore about that. As far as the book, yeah, I had a book in my computer since the 90s. It was on a zip disk, like a little floppy disk. You had to put it in this little area, and now they're obsolete. Um, I didn't know if the book was ready. It was all about trauma and my own story, but it wasn't really, it was cooking. It was cooking until I got the proper education and the proper help and the proper understanding, clarity, vision. So I think that for me, the turning point was when I lost both my parents last year, who never got to see the book. Sorry, I'm walking. They never got to see the book. And that was the kick in the ass that I needed when they both passed away 5 weeks apart. And I never had a chance to show them that the book was done. They just knew it was coming, but it never came to fruition. So I needed a kick in the ass. I got the proper people to help me make the book a reality, and I did. And so the reason that I'm going to say never give up is because, like, when you plant a kernel of corn, you don't get a stalk of corn tomorrow. You have to wait. There's a process. And I believe we should all just be able to wait for that process, get the help, water, nourish. And for me, now that I have a book, it has become a proprietary tool. And I'm being asked to be on podcasts, radio shows, speaking at different things, virtually, in person. So I think we can always keep moving, keep aspiring, and we're never done. Dom, you're never done. Even when you pass away in death, you're not done. You're still energy, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Prof T. In a world where everybody wants stuff right now, do you have any advice for people that aren't where they want to be? Like, damn, I want this. I want a million of these. I want a million over there. I want more money. What do you do when people take all these things so hard?
Maybe they need to learn how to multitask better.
There you go. That's Brian's answer. They could multitask, right? Go.
Well, think about it when you were little. I mean, just think about little kids. Their imagination is amazing. They're developing. They can do anything. Think about when you're a teenager. You remember you were invincible. You could do anything. The problem is when we have too many people telling us we can't do it. And who do you think you are? And why would you think you could do that? No one else in our family's done it. And so we're conditioned to believe that we can't. So I'm passionate about helping people understand that they can, no matter what. So keep going. Look at how many people are in their 80s are starting like a new career, a new job, a new habit, or things like that. You're never done. And this is a good topic because, listen, guys, I'm very positive. You know me, Prof T, very positive. I get down. I get discouraged. I want to quit. I want to give up. I decide that, this is too much work. This is a pain in the ass. No, you keep going. You surround yourself, your tribe, your people that know you, love you, people that want to help you, and you just keep going. So you got to know in your knower that you know. Know in your knower that you know it's going to happen. Thanks.
Thanks, Prof T. Appreciate you. Know in your knower. That's what we learned here. Go on, Tom. What do you got?
Well, I was just Prof T was talking before about legacy, right? Is kind of the word that sprung to mind. And I just wanted to chime in on that. I agree. We're sort of never done building legacy, right? Even after we're gone, even after the people we care about pass away. I'll give you a personal example from my life. So my grandfather, in 1980, with a few of his compatriots, had access to a piece of money from the sale of a property. They took that money, they put it into a fund, and they created a charitable foundation. I'm now the third generation on the board, along with a couple other third generation board members. My father is the chair of the board of this charitable organization, and every year we get together and we get to give away over $100,000 in grants to different charitable organizations to help children, whether that's in healthcare or with education. The mission of the organization is to help underprivileged and indigent children. And so we do that in a variety of ways every year. We give away over $100,000 every year in charitable grants. And that is my grandfather's legacy, right? That's part of his legacy. That's part of what he did in his life. He's been gone for about 6 years now, but 43 years ago, he and some colleagues got together. They took this chunk of money. They created this fund, this organization, and 43 years after that, we're still giving away. We've given away millions of dollars in in grants, close to $4 million in grants total in the life of the organization. And, that's legacy, right? So like I was thinking about what Prof T was doing was talking about with her parents. And what we do is just remember that even when you're gone, and this is very true in a digital age, right? Where these videos that we're creating, these live streams that live on social media and on YouTube, right? Like after we're gone, somebody is going to be able to come back and watch these if they want to, right? Somebody is going to stumble across one of these videos 50 years from now, right? And I mean, hopefully I'm still around, but I'm not going to look like I look right now. And I'm not going to be doing Ironmans at that point if I'm still kicking. But, 50 years from now, somebody might stumble on one of these videos and watch it and listen to it and maybe take something from it. So just remember, be mindful of the fact that everything we do is creates legacy. And that legacy and the access to sort of a digital afterlife that we all have through the content we create creates opportunity for us to um to actually create a much larger impact than previously we might have been able to do. So just be mindful of that. Remember that we can use our platforms now and for an indeterminate amount of time into the future. So we have a ton of opportunity to create impact to make this world a better place through the content we create and through mediums like this. So we're never done building legacy. So make sure it's a positive one, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Anyway, just some thoughts on that.
Hey man, encouragement for positive vibes. We will take it. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We do this every Wednesday. This is a club, right? You guys got to tell me about these houses. I think John Jay, am I missing the boat on not changing this to a house? Can you change a club to a house, or do you got to like start over from scratch?
You can convert a club to a house, and one of the features that the house has that clubs don't have is the lounge, which is an active chat that stays active for 30 days. When you post images, post clickable links, all that stuff. It's a great way to generate a community and use it for business purposes as well. People say that the clubhouse is giving priority to houses right now over clubs and over open rooms in the hallway. So it's a great way to get in front of people and create your own stuff. But they're always making changes, so it's a constantly evolving, constantly learning situation.
Yeah, true that, brother.
Can I ask about the houses?
Let's see, Joyce, go on. Ask about the houses. Go on.
I don't understand them. Again, every time I have to learn technology, it's like a new technology. So I got into Clubhouse, I figured it out. I have found it's harder to find your room. So how are you supposed to use the houses? I guess
that's what I heard too, and that's why I ask. I'm hearing people having trouble.
The big advantage to houses is it gives you multifunction. So let's just say what I do. I'm gonna do stuff with my radio show and podcast in the future, but right now it's about podcasting, and it's called Podcast Pros. So right now we have about almost 2,900 members, and they're all members of the community, and they can all post in the chat. They can also open up rooms. So it's a great way to get other people to build your brand. You can take that room if you choose as the admin of the house to make it available in the hallway as a public room, and you use it as a recruiting tool to get more people in. But the main thing is I can post images and links in the chat and use it as a way of building my business and building people's awareness of what I offer. And it's a great tool. So, for example, I just got invited to speak at Podfest Global, and part of it's due to that, and got invited to speak at Podcast Movement coming up in Denver in August. And I believe it's because of that. It's about expanding your reach. So house gives you options that clubs and general rooms don't do.
Thank you, John. But you don't want me opening up a room in your house.
The heck I don't.
Talking about NBA basketball or whatever.
Here's what'll happen. If someone does it too much, I just ban them.
Okay.
But if they do that and they attract 300 more members of the house, yeah, why wouldn't I? It'd be like having people advertise your brand for you, your product, and you don't do any work and you don't have to do anything to create that. So yeah, why wouldn't I?
And well, I would worry that somebody would be off brand or off message. They'd start.
That's why, as the admin of the room, you can set admins, other moderators, and you can ban people. So, like, I have a strict no pitch, no sales pitch platform in there, and when people do that, they get banned. There's no argument; it just happens. If you can't provide content, you can pitch yourself, your services, but if it's a sales pitch room, you're going to get banned.
Yeah, fair enough, brother. I've got I have a bunch of different Facebook groups, and some of them are getting killed with spam right now. People like, what is this Simon Cowell post that everybody keeps posting? I've got to deny like 20 of them a day as an administrator, where people like, it'll be this celebrity died, this celebrity died. They're just spamming my rooms like crazy. What is the point of that? I don't know. It's annoying. Okay.
I'm sorry. What's going on with Simon Cowell?
I think what happens is people make up fake death news about people, but so let's say I have a Go Ask Your Dad, Power Up Superwomen, Motivation Champs, all these different groups like that, and they will be getting spammed of like where we let, like to John Jay's point, we let people post away. If you want to share a motivational thought, like John shares messages from his show and things like that about things that our boys in blue are doing and stuff. Yeah, please. But then all of a sudden people share these like links. It's either you won $1,000, you the winner of today. I want to ask this woman out on a date. And then I get a ton of these. Will Smith just died. Simon Cowell just died. This did not happen. Those people did not die. But I get links that are flooding my social media of the groups that I control. And I don't get the point, but I guess if you click on the link,
it's clickbait and traffic. It's all about generating traffic.
Yeah, so annoying. Okay, let's continue. Not the smartest guys in the room. We are to Dave. Dave, I've been watching some of your videos. Hey, and I want to say here, just because somebody yelled at me last week, and I want to clarify what happens in this room. So anybody that ever wants to come up on stage, you can come up on stage. We say it's like equal opportunity. Come up. If you've got a question, ask a question, tell a story. If you want to contribute to the topic on hand, we want to hear your opinion, because maybe somebody's a podcaster, maybe somebody has a unique understanding of algorithms. But then typically we go left to right for the people on stage, left to right based on what I am seeing on my screen. So if somebody wants to talk about, they're an expert on algorithms, we might drop down 10 people because they flashed their mic to talk to them. And then we continue back going left and right. Somebody sent me a message. They said, your room stinks. I hate your room. I didn't feel good about your room. You avoided me 10 times. Well, one, right now I can only see, I'm looking at a screen. I can only see Tom, Brian, Dominick, Joyce, Prufty, Dave, Julie Loken, John. That's who I can see. So I can't see. Now I can see Elizabeth when I screen down. So I didn't know when there was more people that is somebody's flashing. I could do a better job. I can't do it all. So then that's why we go left to right. And then we just keep continuing the conversation. If somebody above wants to flash, we'll go back to them. But we are trying to go left to right so we can get to everybody. Hey, that's how we do it. If you don't like it, send me a message like the other dude did. All right,
if you
Dave.
don't like it, you don't have to stay.
Yeah, that's fair. See,
just saying. I know we're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that is okay. So if you're not having a good time here, if you're not enjoying the conversation, feel free to move on. No one is making you stay. But if you are enjoying the conversation, we'd love to have you if you want to contribute, even if it's to counter something we say. We welcome it, right? If you want to get into a discussion about something, that's great. That's what we're here to do. Like Dom said, we want this to be an open and welcoming space where people are free to talk about things that they want to talk about, to ask questions, to share tips, right? That's what this space is all about. So, everyone is welcome, but you definitely don't have to stay if you're not enjoying yourself. That's on you. That's not on us.
Truth. Okay, man. And the second thing, just on another note, is I try to only call up people that have a bio, because there is a lot of spam and things like that. So if you don't have a bio, at least put 2 lines there or something, or send me a message or something. But I do worry if there's no bio. So, okay, Dave, man, steer us in the right direction. What do you got? I've been watching your videos. It seems like you're doing more shorts recently. So, and they seem to be coming up in my feed. So there you go.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Dom, for watching videos. I haven't been doing too many shorts. I've been doing a part of my goals of the year has been to do a kind of a vlog based on the book called The Daily Stoic. So I've been doing a video a day. I get up every morning and I make a little video based on the reading of the day. Read it out and do like a little thing on it. So it's great that you've been watching them. I really appreciate that. And I'm watching you also now on YouTube as well. So don't forget to check out like the amazing Motivation Champs on YouTube. Great, awesome channel there. So I guess going to like what I was thinking of what you were talking about with kind of like trying to complete a big task or anything. It reminds me of this quote. I think it's a Nietzsche quote. Have a why, have a big enough why that will conquer any how. So if you've got a big enough why, a purpose, a reason, then it becomes a little bit easier to kind of do the how part, right? And I not to say that it'll become easier, but it gives you like a guiding a north star to kind of shoot towards. So you have a goal of where you're trying to go towards. It may not actually end up where you end up planning on going, but you'll end up finding along the way, right? Like it's having that kind of direction so you're not moving around in circles. I find really, and then kind of into the what people are talking about. I'm someone with ADHD, so like I've got tremendous focus, but I don't know how to actually focus it, right? I've got a lot of energy, and it's not necessarily when we're talking about the multitasking. It's learning about how to task switch efficiently. I'm also a chef as well, and being a chef, you got to like do a lot of preparation before dinner service. So you're in a time crunch, and you're understanding how things have to operate. And so if I've got to like boil potatoes, but potatoes are going to take an hour, I start the potatoes, then I move on to the next task. It's understanding. I think it's not multitasking. It's how to effectively switch tasks so you can actually stay and have the right amount of, especially with someone with ADHD, the right amount of kind of focus but stimulation so you can keep yourself on the right track. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Yeah, no, like I haven't been on Clubhouse in a while, but I saw you guys pop up on YouTube, so I thought I'd come say hello. And yeah, I think that's all I really got at the moment. Always grateful to be here, and thank you, Tom and Dom. And Tom, congratulations on your upcoming marriage.
Thanks, Dave, and love hearing that you saw us pop up on YouTube and decided to come by Clubhouse so you could get up on stage and talk. Love hearing that. There's nothing quite like getting some validation that this crazy idea you had over a year ago now, because it popped up in my social media is good for some things, and Facebook reminded me of a video, one of the episodes of this that we posted a year ago, and one of the live streams we did. And so I realized we've been live streaming for over a year now. But yeah, always cool that like when you have this crazy idea. I came to Dom one day. We had been doing this Clubhouse thing for a little bit, and I was like, hey, it'd be fun. I think it'd be cool. We do this anyway. Let's live stream it. Let's figure out how to get it on more platforms. And he was like, hey man, if you can figure out how to do that, go for it. I'm in. And so we cracked the nut, and here we are over a year later, live streaming this every week. And are we dragging in crazy views? No. But I don't care, because like I said before, it lives on, indefinitely on the platforms where we live stream it. So at any day, at any point, somebody can find it again. And I think that's important and valuable. And, again, just I think is something good. So super excited to hear that, Dave. And thank you. Thank you. And thank everybody who has said congratulations. Appreciate it. The sort of running joke is Becky and I have been together for 10 years. And the running joke is that in honor of our 10-year anniversary, we decided to actually get married. And we're doing it on St. Patrick's Day because we thought it'd be fun. And that way we'll never forget our anniversary because it'll just be St. Patrick's Day every year. And then we have an excuse besides, the Kiss Me I'm Irish and all that fun stuff. We have an excuse to have a good time on St. Patrick's Day every year because it's our anniversary. So anyway, thanks very much for the congratulations, Dave, and everybody else who has said so. Much appreciated. We're excited. It's going to be a fun party. And I'm allowed to call it a party. We're both calling it a party, just for the record. But yeah, it's going to be a fun party. We're looking forward to it.
Well done. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody who's here right now, and stops by anytime, or has watched over the whole year. We appreciate you. Not the smartest guys in the room. I threw up some. I don't know how to make a Wu-Tang sign, but since we're live streaming, I tried to make a Wu-Tang sign. I think it's cool, so that's what I'm throwing up. I did that on my show, Bikes and Hikes, the other day. We were interviewing somebody, and then all of a sudden, I threw up what I thought was the W's for Wu-Tang, and the guy I do it with was like, "What was that?" And I was like, "That was Wu-Tang." He's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because Wu-Tang's cool, right?" Okay, that's what I want to tell you. Okay,
The 1990s called. They want.
I'm sorry, man. I'm telling you, it's cool. Hey, Brian, I saw you flash for a second. What do you want to add, my friend?
Now, if you're looking for a good book, the Daily Stoic's just an awesome book. It is got short, relatively short daily reads, and it really, really opens up your mind. And I don't want to, but it definitely challenges you to think and appreciate. So it's an awesome book to be reading. I'm complete.
Brian, was that Joe Walsh in the background?
Yeah, he was jamming, wasn't he? What'd you have in the background there, Brian?
Yes, I did. I had a little. You were right. It was Joe Walsh, John.
Rocky Mountain Way, phenomenal
Yes,
music.
it was.
Good job.
It was. I am. You know what? I am tied to old school music, and not that we're talking about that, but I'm going to go out and say you will never find. I don't think we will see music that was made in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s ever again, where these guys made just music that has played over 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and is still used today in commercials and advertising, in movies, and so many things. They just played music that touched the soul. Not that there aren't some artists today. It just, to me, they're a lot harder to find today. So great ear, John.
And by the way, is that John Mayall and the Blues Breakers in the background here now?
You are correct.
You got great taste in music, Brian.
Thank you.
John, you should start a show where you just guess songs. Like, what's that? Where they play like two notes of it and you guess songs.
Name that tune, right?
Yeah, I think someone else does that and they're pretty good at it.
You sound pretty good at it. Okay, somebody who's good at all things media, Miss Media Casters. Would you be Miss Media Casters? And there's multiple media casters now, Julie. So how does that work? But weigh in on all this, teach us something, or ask a question. Go on, Julie.
I love that. And I was trying to figure out the song Brian was playing in the background, and I thought it was REO Speedwagon. So yeah, I would totally lose if I went up against John J. Wiley. It's a great conversation. Congratulations, Tom, on your party. That's so exciting. So, if we're talking about multitasking, I think the problem is, or one of the problems is, with a lot of business people, entrepreneurs, podcasters, authors, we get caught up thinking that being busy means we are success. And I think that pushes some of us over the edge to be multitasking and then to lead into the overwhelm. So I always think it's funny, like people are like, I'm so busy. That does not necessarily equate to success. So that is my thought for the moment. So I will let anybody wait. Don't forget to share the room. No one's shared this room in their hallway.
Well, we need people like you to suggest it. Thank you, Julie. Go. So you just Oh man, I forgot my question, so we got to just go on. There we go. Damn it, Tom. Where do we go from here?
Dating yourself today, Dom. Like, you know,
I'm out of sorts. See, last week Tom wasn't here. Now I'm forgetting myself. Talking about Wu-Tang. I mean, come on.
I mean, there's a bunch of places we could go. I would argue. I think every generation thinks they're special.
Tom's gonna hold on. Tom's gonna argue. No, go on.
When I was a kid, my father's an attorney, and when I was a kid growing up, my parents, Julie and Brian, will probably appreciate this. I don't know if anybody else in the room has a law degree, but my parents used to joke, and my mom specifically used to sort of chide me and say that I was going to grow up to be a good lawyer because I liked to argue so much. But I did not go to law school and did not become a lawyer, so oops. I was just going to say, I would argue that I think every generation thinks they're special in terms of like their experiences, particularly like their fundamental experiences, and the things that they grew up with, the things that they sort of treasure. And I would argue that 50 years from now, there are going to be people, citing music from today that's popular today or that's being released today as music that is far better and holds up better over time than the music of the day in 50 years. I think probably our parents did it with the music we listened to growing up. We'll do it with the music our kids listen to growing up. And so the cycle continues. But not to say that the music isn't good. It's just more special to you than it is to everyone else. But Dom, I agree with you. I did want to say I agree with you that Wu-Tang is cool, and I did grow up listening to Wu-Tang and the 36 Chambers, and enjoying their music. But it is definitely, I hate to break it to you, man, we're not kids anymore. It is a dated reference for
right.
sure. It's a callback to the teenage years in the 90s, for sure.
Fine. Okay, we're moving on. I'll tell you though, I like Migos, and Migos now they're not all together anymore. It's sad. My rap game. What can I do? All right, Nee, man, lead us down the right path here. Drop a tip, ask a question, anything media related, book related, video related. Got a bunch of experts here, podcast, or drop a tip, or jump in on any of these subjects that we've strangely and peculiarly, that's a word, been talking about. Go on, Nee.
Now, it's always interesting being in this room just with a conversation. I think the first time I came here was when we were talking about radio, and used to get that old radio. And is it Dr. T down there still has the cassette player? So it's always interesting, being in this room because never know what is going to be said or the topic that's on table. But to go back to multitasking, right? I do agree, that that's just a myth, and people just wanted to be busy. Reason why I said that is there's this popular video by this Navy SEAL guy that says, when you wake up in the morning, like when you make your bed, you accomplish one task at a time, and through my whole career in the military, it's something that we've always abide by. You stick to something and you do it good, and then you move. So those little tasks that you complete along the way, you look back and you see all those accomplishments, right? But then if you want to do stuff a little here, a little here, a little here, a little here, you're just gonna come back to a whole bunch of mess, and it's like nothing is completed. I'll use myself an example, because I went college a little bit over here, a little bit over there, and it's like, well, what am I doing? Till I took all my college credits together and I realized, I already had a college degree, but never really went one place, because I could never make up my mind till I finally grew up and realized, man, I got to make up my mind, right? And then with that, accomplishing that leads on to going to my master's also, right? So I do believe that those little tasks that you accomplished gets you into success. I used to run ultra marathons, right? And I realized that um, if I took off fast like a bat, like a crazy bat or crazy dog, I would never complete 100K or a 50 miler, but one step at a time. When I focus on that little task, a mile at a time, I would always have that success. And I think it does apply to everything that we do, and it's always great being on stage, hearing John speak. I guess he's gone. I always tell him he's the man with the golden voice, but I guess he's gone. And that's all I have.
Hey, thank you, man. You gotta stack those little wins. I think you're right, man. You stack them, little wins add up to big results. I have a question. You mentioned the radio thing, so isn't like I ride down the road sometimes, and let's say I'm on traditional radio, and then all of a sudden it pops up a song that I never heard before, or it pops up a song where I'm like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I'll listen to that song. Is so then I kind of enjoy that rather than DJing the whole thing and telling them here's the 100 songs I want to play. So sometimes maybe I learned something new, but now where I want to go, and I know it's going to start trouble, but I'm going there. Okay. So Google's getting sued for suggesting videos, right? Or that's basically the premise. Like social media, are they suggesting things that you didn't ask for, but they suggested? Is that any different than radio doing that 50 years ago, saying, "Hey, you might like this next artist, so we're going to play it"? So let's see. Can I open Pandora's box there? Anybody?
Yes, I think you just opened it. I think it's more different on the airwaves, right? With them back in those days, because with the suggesting songs is got a phone call there.
Oh, you were making a good point. Go on.
Yeah, I think it's different with the suggesting video. I think maybe with some people they just had lost track of whatever they wanted to do, and it's not a human feeling behind it because um with the algorithm or whatever they call it, it's just the computer just feeding you stuff, and a lot of people get that watch time when you're on your like at the end of the week. iPhones, I don't know about Androids, will send you how many time you spend on the screen, I would say maybe that's what certain people are looking at and trying to base upon that to sue Google. As per in the radio, well, if you got a 10 minutes drive or you're in traffic, it's something that gets you kind of like jamming and rocking, and there's that human feelings attached to it as compared to though it's humans that produce those videos or stuff that Google is giving to you. You don't have the emotional attached with them because there's certain radios stations that you go over there and you just love the DJ. You never meet the DJ, but they have. I mean, there's a radio station that I listen to. That guy has the most corniest dad jokes ever, and I love dad jokes. Like I got a whole box full of dad jokes in my office that sometimes I read to my friends, right? So I got that attachment with him. So whatever music he's playing, don't really. I say I just love it because I go in for the jokes. Also, when I'm driving back from work, and I have that attachment with him. I may never meet him, but it's just that attachment, So that's how I look at radio versus Google suggesting videos to you.
I think thanks, Nee, for that. I think there's sort of a couple of key elements to, especially the legal argument that's being made right now surrounding YouTube in particular. It's YouTube, which is owned by Google, is being sued in this case that's gone up to the Supreme Court in the U.S. And at the crux of the argument, essentially what they're saying is that that YouTube bears some responsibility for the radicalization of ISIS militants who ultimately carried out terror attacks and killed people, because their algorithm fed radicalizing materials to people who participated in those attacks. And ultimately, I think really what it boils down to is YouTube argues, right, and other social media platforms. YouTube's kind of a social media platform. It operates in relatively a similar fashion in terms of the content that it feeds you. But the argument being made by YouTube and by social media platforms is that we're not curating the content. The user is selecting the content they want to watch, right? So their argument is we're not dictating what the user watches. We're simply providing the opportunity for them to watch the content. Whereas in a radio broadcast, that content is wholly curated by the disc jockey, by the DJ, or by the radio station, or by the programming director, et cetera. With some some exceptions, if you have a call in and request show or something like that. Obviously, that's individual users requesting to hear certain songs, but broadly, it's wholly curated. It's a one direction sort of communication, right? So the argument is that in that case, the radio station would bear responsibility because they curated the content on their platform, whereas YouTube and social media platforms argue that they're not curating the content; they're simply suggesting content that user might like based on the own user's behavior. Right. So they're saying, look, we're not responsible for the content on our platform because it's a free open space. Anybody can post stuff. So it's not our fault if somebody posts something that radicalizes ISIS militants, right? In the case in which is what's going on with this YouTube case. It's not our fault, is what they're saying. I think there's an argument to be made, and I don't know the ins and outs of what the plaintiffs are arguing, but I think there's an argument to be made that by designing the algorithm, they bear some responsibility and they play a role in curating the content that is shown to the audiences or the people that use their platform. So that's what I think. Brian is actually a lawyer, so maybe he has some insights and something to add there. I just don't play one on a live stream. So Brian, what do you think, my friend?
Trust me, I'm not playing a lawyer here. Way out of my bandwidth. I just try to use common sense to run my life and make decisions. And I don't think that Google or YouTube can get away with just throwing up their arms and alleging we just are a platform for whatever people want to post. They do have, I believe they do have some responsibility for what they post because they host the platform, and they do have a fiduciary duty to what they do post, just like a radio station has a duty to not put on music that the FCC deems inappropriate. There are guidelines that are out there. So a radio station, albeit I agree with your synopsis of they are a curator of music, and I think there's still a huge difference between and I don't know enough about the algorithms created and how that's done, but I think you got to even look deeper into who runs the station, who runs Google, and this is hard to find out and figure out, what is their agenda? Why are they creating algorithms that push more of this subject out and less of this subject out, or not even, and create more views for this than that? I don't think that's just totally organic. I can't prove that. I think that there is a method to the madness behind the algorithms. Can't prove it. I'm not that intelligent, but I think they do have some responsibility. If they're putting out stuff showing people in a movie theater yelling fire and watching all the chaos happen, I think they've got a responsibility not to put that out, because that is going to create a similar thing. And again, you can argue, well, people have free will. Just because they watch that doesn't mean that they're going to do the same thing. I think that's a little sophomore view at that analogy. So I'm complete.
Hey,
Thank you.
man, Brian,
Hey,
thanks for dropping that. I just wanted to, Tom, I 2 points I wanted to make
go,
here
go,
real
go.
quick. One, he said, what did he say? FCC. How's Nicki Minaj get? I like rap music. How does she get away with saying everything she wants to say on the radio? I mean, what are they basing this on? Because she can say whatever the hell she wants. But anyway, then the case that I was thinking of another case. It was a little girl who did the blackout challenge on one of these other apps. She did the blackout challenge where I guess you try to hold your breath and then somebody pushes on your chest, and she died. And so her mom is now suing, and that's one of the other cases as well that's up there. So do they have some liability there? Go on, Tom.
Well, I was just going to say too, just for some context, the original statute, I don't remember the number. It's section 230, I think, or something like that is the law. But the original law that's on the books was went into effect, over 20 years ago, and it was essentially to provide some separation between service providers, right, and the content that was posted on on their services, right? You're using their services, i.e., to insulate, say, Comcast as an internet service provider from somebody who creates a website that has, let's say, just inflammatory content, right? Or what's the right word I'm looking for when you slanderous content, right? So say you've got a website that is slanderous, right? This law was put into place so that if somebody put up a website that was slanderous, I always forget. Is it slander when you say it, libel when you write it, or the other way around? Somebody jump on real quick and tell me. Julie, Brian, which way is it? Slander when you say it, libel when you write it, or the other way around? No one wants to help me. Okay, fine.
Yeah, yes, you're right.
Okay, slander when you say it, libel when you write it. Okay, so somebody puts up a libelous website, right, that has a whole bunch of information on it about a corporation, right? And that information is found to be libelous. The corporation sues the person that put up that website. This law was put into place so that the company that was the subject of the libel, that was suing the person who put up the libelous website, can't also sue Comcast for being the internet service provider that allowed that website to be put up, right? So that's the sort of law that was put into place like over 20 years ago. Sometime in the 1990s, I think, was when this law was actually passed, right? When the internet was sort of booming, websites were growing, people were putting up websites saying bad things about other people on websites, and companies like Comcast didn't want to get sued, so they lobbied to have this law put in place. And the issue is that it doesn't really apply to places like YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, but they've been using this law as a way to insulate themselves from lawsuits based on the content on their platforms, right? They've been trying to say, we're just like the internet service providers in the 90s. We bear no responsibility for what's on our platforms. But yeah. So anyway, that's just to give a little bit more context for anybody who wasn't kind of fully read up on it. That's sort of what's been going on. But yeah. Anyway, I mean, I agree with Brian. I think they bear some responsibility for sure, without question.
And this idea, I just like to jump in on this idea that false information travels so much quicker, and that this is what these social media platforms are doing, are spreading a lot of false information and saying they have no responsibility for it. So I think that's another issue that is not being studied. There's lots of stories out there. There's lots of research. So this is the thing about the human brain as well. So to say they have no responsibility is farcical. So that's just my 2 bits.
And to your point, Dom, so I have a radio show every Wednesday on a pretty prominent channel in the Chicagoland southwest suburbs. And I have asked the producer, could I say this word or that word? And I mean, they are not unbelievable, like shit. Can I say shit? You know, and it's no. But yet, when you listen to the music out there, oh my gosh. I mean, they could get the things that they say in the music today is horrendous. Let alone, you know, how descriptive it gets in the innuendos, but yet I can't say shit and several other words that I mean, I don't consider them exactly vulgar or vile or bad in any major way, but yet the station does not allow that. I mean, I'm not saying it's never slipped out of somebody's mouth, but people who have any type of radio show are purely aware, and they don't give you this list like I wish they did of George Carlin's, you know, words not to say. Unfortunately, according to them, the FCC doesn't give them a list of words. It just finds them afterwards. And I think that's horrendous because I don't believe the laws are being applied evenly, which our country is horrendously guilty of applying the laws equally. We're way past that. So you're going to see, to your question, Dom, you're going to see people get away with stuff and say stuff and do stuff. And yet I can't use the word shit in a description on my radio show. I'm complete.
Thank you, Brian. I'm liking the conversation. I enjoy you guys. A nice civil conversation today we're having. Yeah, we're doing a good job. Thanks, guys, everybody who's here today. Okay, we are going to, it's not the smartest guys in the room. We're here every Wednesday. That's a reset. We are going to meet our friend Elizabeth. She's a red carpeter. She travels across the globe. She hosts a podcast. I think she's over 100 episodes now. Elizabeth, you want to weigh in on all this, or drop us a tip or ask a question? Go on. It's nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. Yes, it's very nice to see you. I hardly ever go on Clubhouse anymore. And when I do, I come in this room because it's like meeting a bunch of old friends. So it's good to see you all. Yes, I uploaded episode 104 of Most Memorable Journeys. And I think I announced in this room that I was starting my podcast. I think you guys were some of the first who actually knew about it, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I love it. And I don't think I can teach anybody anything in here, but my tip when it comes to podcasting or, you know, things general in life is don't give up too early, because once, you know, sometimes there comes a point, especially when you have a podcast, you get fed up. You don't really you feel like it's not working the way you imagined it. And then suddenly this point comes where it all goes upwards. And when you have a certain amount of episodes, you start having credibility. You get all the guests you want. Everybody, like I can now more or less contact whoever I want, and they agree to be my guest when I want them to be. So it's all about consistency and being a little disciplined. Not always. And Brian, I also use the word shit very often. I think it's very relieving. And yeah, talking about the red carpet, Dominic, I think you're a little jealous about my red carpet appearances.
Duh. Go on.
I took a picture with Emma Thompson last month in London. That I think was one of my highlights. I think everybody knows Emma Thompson. And that's all. I don't really have much else to offer at the moment. I'll be coming to the US in May. I'm going to be speaking in Los Angeles and in New York. But other than that, everything fine on my island in the sun. I still swim all winter and I'm feeling very good. Thank you.
Now you're talking. Swimming all winter. We get cold, and in Pittsburgh it's gray and cloudy like 300 days of the year. So somebody swimming in the winter, I am jealous of that. Elizabeth, one more question. Because me and my buddy Dave Campbell, who's listening down there, we were talking about this the other day, that we miss some of the people that were on Clubhouse over the last 2 years, that, and we understand pandemic opens up and things change, but what are a few reasons that maybe you're not on as much as you used to be? Is it content? Is it the groups? Is it oversaturation? What do you think?
No, I think it really is having less time, because during COVID there were so many things we couldn't do. We couldn't travel. We couldn't. I mean, at some point we couldn't even go out the way we do now. So it really is that. It's basically just not having enough time and being distracted with other things. And as I said, I mean, I used to go to all sorts of rooms, but when I do go into Clubhouse these days, I come here.
Hey, well, we accept that. We appreciate it, and we thank you. And your voice is always lovely, and you give us a little motivation today. So, thank you. We appreciate you. We keep this train rolling. Heather, what's going on today? Where you want to weigh in on all this stuff? We talked a little algorithms. Did that get you fired up? So go on, Heather.
Oh, there are so many things I would like to say about what you guys are talking about. But I mean, the music thing I could touch on, because I mean, just because the music that is now may be in rap form and that is the most popular does not mean that it is not as suggestive as it used to be. I mean, hi, like Purple Haze. I mean, come on. There's so many songs that are so suggestive to do drugs, sex, whatever. So it's all relative to how old you are, I guess. I grew up with listening to music from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I love music, period. I just don't like country music. Because all they talk about are, I don't have any beer, my tractor broke down, my wife left me. Oh, thank you. The winds of change blowing in. But I will say, with the algorithms and, YouTube getting sued for suggesting videos after you watch a video, it's suggesting things based off of the content in which you just watched. So this also works with Spotify. You can go to a radio on Spotify. Let's say it's Nicki Minaj radio. I am a Nicki Minaj fan. Love her. Let's get it. And I can go to the radio and they will suggest songs that are based off of things that I like about Nicki Minaj or Cardi B or Lizzo or Meg Thee Stallion, whatever. It's the same type of algorithm. It's suggesting a song that I may like based off of that song that I just listened to. I think that YouTube is responsible, but so are all the other social media platforms. Facebook is another one. There's so much political polarization, especially during that very crazy presidential election, where people are in their own algorithm. They read an article and they share an article, and then that algorithm is going to continue to push that type of content to your algorithm. Same thing with TikTok. The For You page is different for everybody. So if you're somebody who is on TikTok and all you see are big booty bitches shaking their ass in your face, well, guess what? We know that's all you're doing late night, is sitting there scrolling TikTok, looking at suggestive videos, and you are going to be suggested more videos of that type. So, you know how I know this? Okay, so I have access to my clients' TikToks and my Instagram and their Instagrams. I have to post on their TikTok. And when I get onto TikTok, I go on their For You page and I try to keep it on the algorithm. I work in a lot of food. So I am searching out food related TikToks. I'm liking, I'm commenting under food related TikToks. And because I'm doing that, it is going to suggest more food related TikToks. Well, if I go in there and that feed is now littered with people twerking in bikinis, well, guess what you're doing late night? You're watching girls twerking in bikinis, and then your FYP is going to keep pushing that out to you. And I know this because I go in there and I'm like, oh my God, like, please keep this on your personal stuff. Watch that stuff on your personal account, please, because I see it. And then I have to go through and swipe quickly, re-engage with the other stuff that is relevant to the business and keep it moving. So maybe humans need to get out of their own way and get out of their own algorithm and search for information that is not what they're used to looking at. So if you are, and I'm not trying to get political, I am a moderate, I am spiritual, I don't do politics or religion, I am very much in the middle. But if you are a Democrat who is sitting here constantly reading NPR articles, you are just going to be in a bubble. If you are a Republican that is sitting here and constantly reading Fox News, you are going to be in a bubble. So it is everybody's, I guess, responsibility to branch out more. Read articles that you may not read. Listen to music you may not want to listen to, because you're beating the algorithm at that point, and you're beating the social media platform that is trying to keep you in a lane. So that's why my FYP on TikTok is all over the place. That's why my YouTube is all over the place, because I am searching for knowledge that I may not know about, and I'm trying to expand my horizons and not just stay within the algorithm that is being pushed by social media. So my tip is for everybody to get out of your comfort zone, because if you are uncomfortable, you cannot grow and be more comfortable with new things.
I was just gonna say, as you were wrapping that up, Heather, I was just gonna say, like, the phrase popped into my head that I've said before: get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Because when you're uncomfortable, that's when you're growing, that's when you're learning. When you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, that's when you have the opportunity to do better, to be better, to learn, right? And I think it's incredibly important that people do that. I think like it's funny, my TikTok, my YouTube, all of my social media is very all over the place, because I have a very broad range of interests and hobbies and disparate things that I sort of jump onto and fall off of all the time. And so, my stuff, if you jump through my For You page on TikTok, it's food, it's cycling, there's this Arizona RV expert guy that has popped up a few times, and I just kind of find RVs slightly interesting, and so I get a bunch of RV content now. Recreational vehicles, for anybody interested. It's weird. It's houses on wheels. I don't know. It's a bizarre thing, but like, for some reason I find it fascinating. So I get a ton of his content, but I get all kinds of stuff. And I think, it's very comfortable to sort of stay in the lane and stay with what we know. But life is much more exciting and interesting if you push yourself outside of your bubble, and you push yourself outside of your lane, and you learn about other things. So I would encourage everyone to do that. Search random hashtags. Something pops into your head, go ahead and look it up on social media, search a hashtag for it, and see what pops up, and then interact with it a little bit, play with it a little bit, and you'll start seeing new stuff as the algorithm tries to adjust and feed you the kind of things you're looking for. So, just have fun with it. I think that's the big thing, is like, people forget that you can actually have a lot of fun using social media if you just do it with a little bit of intention. So that's my thought. But yeah, get comfortable being uncomfortable, guys. Try new things. Make life spicy. Variety is the spice of life, right?
Yeah,
so make life spicy.
Get spicy. Okay. Tom says get spicy. Heather, I wanted to say, if anybody needs to clip like in replay 2 minutes or 30 seconds, you need to go back in there and reclip when you were talking about, if you're watching videos at midnight, I can tell you, if you're watching big booty girls, or it's killer stuff. I'm telling you, it's gold. So yeah, that is all for you to have. Okay, we are continuing. We got to meet Jane. We got to talk to 7-2. Got to see what our boy Charlie's up to. Jane, what do you got going on? Well, I wonder what kind of tree that is behind her. My dad's in the nursery business, so that looks like a spruce of some kind.
Yes, it is.
A blue spruce, or is it it's not a white
I believe
pine.
it's blue spruce in that it's a big hedgerow of giant spruce in my neighbor yard. So, but I wanted to stop in and say hi to everybody today. And of course, I want to offer all the veterans and family members of veterans the VA benefits. If you go on YouTube and you search Jane Babcock, you'll find a bunch of videos I do. But connect with me on LinkedIn like Tom just did. And I'll be happy to send you the tools that I use to teach. I do one-on-one phone calls, virtual classes, in-person classes, and I do everything as a volunteer. But I also do a lot of guesting on podcasts and live streams and radio shows. And last November, I did my first TV remote for San Antonio, Texas on the burn pit issue and the VA benefits. So, Dominick, I will send you the updated tools because you already have my tools. And then I wanted to let people know that, for me, one of the things I've had the issue with is the fact that the VA doesn't advertise. So their own published data shows that they're not serving veterans. I mean, Brian's got a great nonprofit, SOAR, and they have a grant program to help veterans. It's sad that our own nation doesn't serve our veterans better, in that less than 25%, or excuse me, less than 50% of our guys and gals, I think of myself as one of the guys, are receiving the benefits and the support financially and medically that they're supposed to. And less than 25% of our widows and widowers receive their benefits. So my mission is to try and make up for the VA and educate as many as possible. Thank you for the time, everyone.
Jane, thank you for your work. You're helping a lot of people. And my dad was military police out at White Sands in New Mexico. So I'm going to look through your information a little bit more. Hey, Nee, you flashed off real quick. So hold on, let's go to Nee.
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks to Jane. I'm still active duty, thinking about transitioning out. So I'm gonna go look out for your stuff. And it is true, it is difficult for the VA not advertising and none of those things. So I just want to say thanks for all that you do for the veterans also. That's all I got.
Thanks for your service. And by the way, Brian, did you know that ALS is actually a presumptive for all military members from the U.S.? For every 3 people that get ALS, 2 of them are usually veterans. So there's a whole bunch of stuff the VA can do, including financial support over $3,000 a month. Just saying. Thanks.
Thank you, Jane. All right, Jason, we've been talking about a couple subjects that I think you would enjoy. We talked about algorithms a little bit. We were talking about radio, social media. I jumped in one of Jason's rooms the other day. I tried to. Good stuff all around. So what do you got going on, my friend? Weigh in.
There's a lot of thoughts, and I'm going to try to keep in opinion context, not professional context. So my full disclosure, I'm not giving you legal advice by any means necessary, but my personal opinion about things when it comes to libel, slander, and defamation of character, very hard to prove. I mean, there are cases that you're going to be aware of in the news. I mean, the most notable recently was Johnny Depp and was Amber Heard. I think that was the most, the largest one that we know of and we're aware of because of the power of their celebrity position, the diligence in which they serve people and how people consume their content. What's the responsibility, and how does it take away from someone's reputation versus their art? When people think about the First Amendment of how it guards, it's a liberty. It is not a freedom. It is an allowance. People need to understand that. See, you may be allowed by the government standard to say many things, but that doesn't free you of responsibility against civil actions and personal actions and how that liability is pursued. I mean, look at it, for example, when there's certain laws in the books right now where convicts cannot benefit off of telling their story in any shape or form. So, but why should they be deprived if they're telling of their psychosis and their analysis of what they were going through when their mental illness, of getting medically treated properly or things. I mean, it can go a lot of different ways, but when it comes to responsibility of what you consume, there are things that I think that if the government were to level out the playing field and taking responsibility in censorship is exactly the means in which they skew censorship and how censorship works. Because in radio, like Brian was talking, I can't say shit, can't say fuck. But in a podcast, I can. I can put a warning. A lot of the podcasts out there and even your YouTubes, you can put warnings not for meant children under the age of 18. Doesn't guarantee you against prosecution, but it warns the listener or the viewer that their content may be hazardous to their mental health or their being or their children. Then also when it comes to like the responsibility of social media, let's say like when the Tide Pod challenge and people were dying, it's just like, wait a second. Well, when did you relinquish the responsibility of parents on viewing into a device? So if I were defending, say, like Tide, the company, did we ever project or promote that this is healthy? I mean, is there warning labels on their product and services? Of course there is. But how far do you take it? The interpretation of the service like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, there's a lot of different things to talk about. And Heather kind of touched on, the personal responsibility of your consumption at the end of the day. So when you think about all this, I think that trying to call moral police or morality is very difficult in the United States, specifically speaking widely on opinions, allegations, thoughts, theories. And that's why we have that ability where many other nations and countries, they do not have this. Just the other day in politics, I listened to Joe Biden's speech in Ukraine talking about that we're waving Ukrainian flags in our doorways. And I'm like, no, I haven't seen that, but nice. Am I going to hold him liable or responsible for false claims? Nope, can't do it. It's not important because I only live in one city, but I travel a lot. So I think there's a lot to really take in at the end of the day. I think that our personal responsibility of your consumption of whatever media it is, wherever your information comes from, it should be emphasized and taught in our etiquette, from kids, and also to be encouraged as adults. Stop being so sensitive to every single thing or every issue. You don't have to pay attention. And that's where I'll end.
Thank you, brother, man. I appreciate your view on things. I always know I'm going to get some deep thoughts that lead me to think, maybe I should think about this or that. Hey, I do want to let you know, my dad does fly. He has an American flag and a Ukraine flag on his barn, and his family's from Poland, but I don't know. Okay, Charlie, man, what do we got on Charlie's world? What's going on, brother? Where are you going to weigh in on all this stuff?
I just need to first say hello to everybody and just for a moment have gratitude. As many of you know, I'm recovering from a blood clot to my brain that left my whole left side paralyzed. And I can see in the near future that I will be taking my front-end loader and crushing my wheelchair because I will not need it in the future. That is my vision, and that's what's going to happen. So that's my gratitude for the day. It happened as recently as November. So the doctors are saying that I'm doing stuff that's incredible because my mindset is where it needs to be. Weighing in, I'm going to jump on a little bit of what Tom said. I find interest in almost everything. And the things I don't find interest in, I push myself to find interest in because I don't want my vocabulary to go from 30,000 words to 18. I'm forcing my brain always to learn new stuff. And it might be goofy stuff like how to build a treehouse, which I may never do, but I still want to see and read about that. Or making a micro home out of an old Econoline van. Or, per se, looking at articles and reading them that I'm not interested in, but realizing that by the time I'm done, I'm interested. Or on CBS This Morning on Sundays, um, staying and watching the whole episode of something that doesn't interest me. Otherwise, I will become very vanilla and only interested in the topics that I'm interested in. I don't have a law degree, but I have a prudent way of thinking because I've worked for the state government, 3 maximum security prisons, and it taught me to think prudently. And then I read the book, The Art of Thinking Clearly, and it makes me dive deeper into each thing and not take headlines or what a newscaster is saying as gospel. Lastly, I think that it's really important that the algorithm, in my case, always is all over the place. Unfortunately, somebody took a 3-hour YouTube video of me doing a podcast and they clipped 90 seconds from it about my final moments with a death row inmate taking a cup of coffee from him. And that's coming up on 7 million views. And unfortunately, a lot of stuff comes from that. People, you know, wanting to speak about the death penalty and this and that, which I'm okay with that. But most people speak about the death penalty having never worked in prison and realizing that those with the capital never get the punishment and those without the capital do get the punishment. So it's hard sometimes to see people wanting to right away with a crime, give that person a death penalty. They have only been charged. They haven't been convicted by a jury that appears yet. And they already are tainting the potential future jury poll by their blasphemous posts. And these things do travel. So what am I doing now is as I'm making the recovery back and I'm forcing my mind to do more neuroplasticity, I want to tell you guys that this is one of the cool things. I'm right-handed. I have an occupational therapist, doctor, who got me to use my left hand, which was curled up in a ball. I'm throwing a football now with my left hand and I'm spiraling it because my brain had limitations before the stroke and it now knows a new pathway. And that new pathway is being taught new things. And what the stroke has taught me is that we are limited by only what our mind has a lid on it. If we think that we live in an 8-foot house, 8-foot ceilings, and we're 7'2", we're always ducking. I am not ducking anymore. There's unlimited potential of making a new life for yourself, and your past may be muddled, but your future is spotless. And I'm doing this through therapy and through the ability of relearning things in my brain as if I'm a toddler. So this stroke, in a lot of ways, although I didn't want it, didn't need it, and I was selling a lot of books, having overcome a lot of things, now I can say I'm a stroke survivor and not a stroke victim. And unlike other injuries that I've had, a stroke is spiritual, mental, and physical. It's more than not being able to use a limb. Being not able to use a limb is bad, but your mind and the clarity is really, really important. Guys, I appreciate you here. And one last thing on the way out is that repurposed material can give you a new dimension in your brand. I have an old video that keeps on playing. They're putting it on Facebook, and I keep on selling books, and I get people to interact with me, and they write to me and share their experience. How reading some of my book, although not unique, I'm not unique, it helped them look at their lives, and they're going to make changes. So talk about a blessing. Things are really happening in a big way, and I didn't even expect it. That concludes me.
Right on, Charlie, man. Let's clap our boy up, Charlie, just because he's back. He's on the comeback, on the mend. So it's good to hear you, man. It's good to see you. Yeah, the good voice, man. So keep it up, Charlie. You're only starting to tell your story. You wrote that, but the story's not over, man. So you hold You hold the pen, right? Pen, whatever, however you say that word. Damn that word. I try to never use it. Okay. We are going to meet Nate and Julie Rock. Let's see what we got. Nate, what's going on? Okay, Nate. I know. Cultivating respect, inclusion, purpose, dedicated to the education of ourselves. And I'm reading a profile here. Come on, hold on. See, this is me looking close to my screen. Dedicated to the education of ourselves and all beings, but more importantly, all beings through ourselves. Okay, Nate, drop a tip, ask a question. Here in this room, we wander, we meander, we talk about all things from books to publishing to video to algorithms to the big comeback. So go on, my friend, drop a tip, ask a question.
Well, the reason I came up was actually what you posted, what Tom posted in here about the multitasking thing. And I had heard that a couple times in the past and didn't really understand what that was. But I spent the last 22 years as a bartender, and I always thought that kind of multitasking was a superpower when I was younger, right? Because of bartending, you got so many hundreds of things being tossed at you at the same time that you got to flip back and forth with. And I actually found out how true the fact that we can't do that is recently. It triggered my epilepsy. I've been epileptic most of my life and didn't even know, and kind of pushed to that point and got diagnosed with PTSD from 22 years of bartending. And when I read your article there, I was like, wait a second. That stress level of that stop, flip and forth at really high speeds for long hours at a time really does a number on your brain. Pretty interesting. But my question was, on a podcasting situation, I kind of came up on a scenario where I might be trying to go down that road of starting a podcast. And I was just curious what the panel's thoughts are on being able to have kind of a wide breadth of different things that we go down, or is it better to try to like have a very narrow point that you're aiming for at a podcast, or does it really matter? I guess that's my question.
You came to the right place, my brother. So I'm going to have a couple of people that jump in. Tom, Joy, we'll go around, do it popcorn, whatever you want to do, Tom.
So Nate, great question. I think from my perspective, where I start thinking about this is in terms of the audience, right? So I think that's one of the mistakes that a lot of people make when they go to create content is they focus inwardly first, and really who you should be thinking about is who you are creating this podcast for. Who is the audience, and how does it serve them? Specifically, how does it deliver value to them? Right. So that's what I would be thinking about. That's what I would be looking at. And generally speaking, it can be broad. It doesn't have to be hyper specific. It can be broad, so long as it is consistent. Right. So I think about, so take this room, for example, right? So not the smartest guys in the room. Dom and I have been doing this for well over a year now. We've been live streaming it for over a year. There is no topic that we talk about in this room every week. Some weeks we talk about, the podcasting, publishing, and social media. Most weeks we touch on those topics in some way, shape, or form, but other weeks we don't. Other weeks we talk about random topics. Dominick said that there was quite a lively debate going on last week when I wasn't here. So it really just depends on the week. The thing that's consistent about it is the time, the Dominick and myself, the hosts, and the audience, the group that comes in to listen and participate here, is pretty consistent. And with us just about every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. when we start the room, or shortly thereafter. So that consistency and that general format, the way we like to say it is, this is an open forum. If you want to speak, all you have to do is raise your hand. We'll bring you up. And the suggestion is that you drop a tip, right? Share some knowledge or ask a question. and that's really what our focus is. So that is enough of a focus to make a coherent, cogent show for people, right? So it doesn't have to be hyper specific, but it does have to be consistent. I think you should think about a format, and most importantly, make sure that whatever you create is delivering value to the community that you are hoping to serve with that content. Or the way I like to say it is the community that you seek to serve, right? So make sure you're delivering value to them with the programming that you develop. So I hope that helps. I'm sure there are other folks in the room. Flash your mics if you want to chime in. So Jason, go ahead.
What I would say to you, Nate, is write out 10 topical ideas. 10. Just create a series, whether it connects or not. 10 ideas, and under each idea, make a small script of bullet points and talking points. Because you know what? In podcasting, the beautiful thing, nobody knows who you are. You're not going to go viral more than likely at first. So that's great. So you just got to, you get your reps in, you get your thoughts in. Trying to niche yourself down, I still am not all the way niched. It's good to kind of be broad, like Tom was talking to a degree, because I listened. There is a podcast about bartender stories, that I listen to. I also worked in the food and beverage, and I also was a bartender at one time in my life. And the stories that we can tell just on restaurant experiences or the quirky things that people do is a niche in itself. And it's random things that this happened at the bar today or whatever, So I would really encourage you, whatever you do, don't listen to too many people. Just write your ideas down, talk about it. If you talking can go on and on, so maybe create practice episodes and record yourself and listen and see the points that if you were to go back and re-record, there you go, or fix. There's a lot of input from many different content creators. Everyone has their idea, but you're going to find you're the storyteller. Create the material that you can enjoy and other people can enjoy as well. And that will help you on your journey. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Jason. Julie, you flashed. You wanted to chime in there. What did you have to say?
And I don't want to overwhelm by too many just ideas, but understand what the objective is first and foremost. Is it just to share your message? Is it to enhance your business profile, your brand recognition? Is it to make money? And then unpack it from there, because there are so many different ways to approach a podcast. But I think the most important thing is to talk about what you love, and it all depends on kind of the end game and then moving backwards from there. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. Nate, does that help you out, bud?
Yeah, I suppose so. And I think that maybe like my two main focuses, now that I think about it, actually like deriving the link up between the two, because like the restaurant industry and bartending also links up with the aquaponics and the food growing. So maybe like hashing out some of the links to it, and then I can kind of work those links instead of trying to think of them as two separate subjects. Yeah, cool. All right.
Hey, Nate.
Sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to
No, go on,
interrupt.
Julie, please.
Well, thank you. I was so rude to interrupt, but maybe you want to do something on the evolution of food, because I see that you are also very deeply invested in personal growth and development, and speaking of the evolution and the different ways we receive food, the different ways we grow food, the different ways we commune over drinks. It can be a very interesting kind of slice into the way we grow our lives through consumption of food, growth of food, bringing community through all of it. It can be really an interesting kind of perspective.
Yeah,
I'm
awesome.
done.
Nate, my thing is, the one thing that I would encourage is, and I think just do it, man. Just get started. You can find your way a little bit. And I think it was Jason saying, like, at first, truth be told, and if I'm wrong here, if anybody got 1 million views on their first show or something like that, or their 10th view, or on their 1 million on their first 10, let me know. But the reality is, at first, you are building, you're growing, you're learning your own style, you're learning what you're comfortable with, what you like to talk about. A lot of people burn out because they pick something that they're really not passionate about. So all of a sudden you're talking, like I used to go speak, and I'd speak on bullying sometime. It wasn't for me. So I didn't want to do more speeches on bullying. That wasn't something I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to tell my kids, hey, it's time to fight like hell. Put your head down and swing away. That wasn't the right message for that the schools wanted to hear. And so talking on bullying wasn't something I was passionate about. So I would say to you, start recording, and you will find your way over the course of time. But get started, press record. How's that?
I got one more quick thing I want to share with you, Nate. And it's an analogy that I use with clients all the time when we start talking about creating content for their businesses or brands, right? And the way I like to approach it is from the perspective of, or thinking about the content creation process like a road trip. Okay. So, again, dating myself here as we did earlier in the room, talking about being a teenager in the 90s. But when I started driving, there was no such thing as GPS in your car. There was no such thing as Google Maps or smartphones. And so my parents gave me a Rand McNally road atlas, so I could find my way around to new places I'd never driven to before. And so I use that as a metaphor for content creation and the process you go through. So the first thing you have to do when you're planning a road trip, you're planning to go somewhere, is pick the destination, right? You have to know where you're going, right? And the same thing is true when you're creating content, whether it's a podcast or video content, whatever the case may be. You have to pick the destination first. So the first question to ask yourself is, why do you want to start a podcast? What is the end goal you hope to accomplish with that podcast? And it can be big, it can be broad, right? It doesn't have to be niche and clearly defined, right? Like, my mission for my business is to humanize the world of business through better communications. That's pretty freaking broad. It is not specific, but that's okay, right? It means that everything I do in my business moves toward, or is intentional and purposeful towards, accomplishing or furthering that mission of humanizing the world of business, right? So I would encourage you to think about it the same way. Pick that destination, figure out why you want to start the podcast and what your end goal is, right? Once you do that, then you can start planning the route. You can start deciding what roads you want to go down in pursuit of that goal, in pursuit of that mission, right? So think about what the show is going to look like. Is it going to be you hosting it by yourself? Or are you going to have a co-host? Are you going to do interviews? Are you going to share stories? Are you going to have user-generated content you're going to include? What does it look like, right? That's planning the route. And then once you've done that step, then you can get in the car, right? You can start the car and you can get driving. But that's the way I would, and you can start recording episodes of the podcast. But that's the way I would look at it: is pick the destination, plan the route, then start recording, right? In that order. And I hope that helps.
Yeah, actually, I like that route better than trying to come up with an audience first, because that's where a lot of people have told me that, and I struggle with that because I don't really know what the target audience would be. But going that route, then the audience will kind of work itself out as you go down the path, and then you can kind of tweak that that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nate. All right, we got Julie Rock. She knows all things podcast, all things books. So, Julie Rock, you want to weigh in on any of this? Drop a tip for us. What do you got for us today? See, I probably had the bad segue. That's what happens. We'll come back to Julie Rock. We'll go to Hillary. Hillary, what's new today? Hillary, director, actor, author, voice actor, ChatGPT enthusiast. Who isn't? But that go on. What do we got today, Hillary?
It's funny because as soon as Tom said, from the perspective of, I was like, tell me you use ChatGPT without telling me you use ChatGPT. I was gonna say hello to everyone first off, and I'd love to know what the room is about today because I like the title and I like what I was hearing, but I have no idea what to speak on because I don't know what's going on yet. I just got here.
Hey, well, that's fair. So anyway, in this room, we're not the smartest guys in the room. We talk all things media. We talk publishing. We talk video. We talk algorithms. We have a whole room someday about ChatGPT.
We
So
talk music.
we talk music. We talk regular radio. So that's what we were going on. So we say at this point of the room, because we're winding down, we would ask you to drop a tip on one of those subjects or ask a question.
Good Lord, there were so many subjects and I have so many tips. You tell me a subject and I will tell you. Tell you what, make words, Hillary. Chat GPT 3. I figured out yesterday while I was looking through my PayPal to see if I need to pay a bill or something, and I had $78 just sitting there. I was like, what is this from? And then I saw another one for $100. What the hell? So I go check it. Oh, these are from all of these little. Actually not all of. I did 2 reels last week and netted 178 from a Chat GPT reel I did that was just hold on. Sorry. I did a Chat GPT reel I had it write the entire script. Took me 2 minutes to get that done. Hop on over, recorded it, 5 minutes for that, put it in, $178 for nothing. So if you're not making content right now on Chat GPT 3, then you're missing out because it is a huge vast ocean of people who want to know, and all that's out there are things that say make $1 million with ChatGPT, get new jobs. Oh, there'll be no jobs, and it's like there's all this hype, but nobody's saying here's what you do: step A, step B, step C, go. No one's out there just putting down how to do prompting and whatnot. So if you know how to do that, get on that quickly because Reels is paying out big time, and it's going to get you in the algorithm fast and get you seen by a lot of people. So if you want to generate traffic, that's the route to go right now.
Hillary, when you're using ChatGPT, if I put in, let's say I have it analyze a paragraph, analyze a chapter, whatever, that's typically what I'm using it for. Sometimes it might create goofy music for me or a joke for one of my buddies. I want to write a song about him or something. How do I cut and paste? Like, am I cut and pasting what it creates somewhere else? Because when I cut and paste it, it seems like it doesn't cut and paste easily. Is there something I'm missing?
I mean, I can answer.
Sorry, I'm sitting here pushing the button. It's like, come on. Okay. So there's several different ways that you can go about this that'll work out for you. If depending on where you want to put it. Now, if you want to put it into an email, you can actually take the entire thing, embed it into the email it's really, really hard and really complicated. So listen carefully. You just right click on or hold down on any word and then click select all. I know. Did I go too fast there?
Oh, see, that's kind of stuff we talk about. Okay, good.
So that's it, and then you just paste it into the email, and it will embed your entire thread that you have going. So all of it, it'll look like a mini Chat GPT 3 screen when you put it in over there. And then if you want to, the best way I have to do it, if I'm going to use it for, like, say, I just did something I want to publish. All right, so I've got an article and whatnot, and I want to take it now, and I want to go publish it. So you can again just hold it down, click select all, then scroll the little thingy over until it says share, hit share, and put it to your Dropbox, and make a file. And it's that simple. And it'll keep the formatting, it'll keep the headings, it'll keep everything exactly like it is that you see it on screen.
Okay. Thank you for the tips. Glad you came by.
Yep. But don't cut and paste. Don't highlight everything and then try to cut and then try to paste somewhere else. Just do the select all and paste.
That's what I've been doing, and then I lose half of the thing. I used it to create We Didn't Start the Fire, the 2020 version, and I'm like 2020 and beyond, something me and my kids were goofing around about for a while. We argued for about 2 years how we would write the song. In 2 minutes, I put it into Chat GPT, and it made it better. So And Heather, you seem like you wanted to weigh in on Heather's gone, so it's back to you, Tom. We've been here almost 2 hours. We appreciate everybody who stops by. Hillary, Nate, Nee, Jason, Charlie, Julie, and everybody who came by. Dr. Tachi, Jason. I mean, we had some cool people here. My buddy David down there. So, Tom, do you want to take us out? Send us home on a positive note where we feel like we got something worthwhile out of this room and Dom didn't just waste everybody's time.
Absolutely.
Damn you, Dom.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. And what I'll do is I'll go back to an early part of the conversation with Prof T, where we were talking about legacy. She was talking about the loss of her parents. And I told a little story about some legacy that my grandfather left behind when he passed. But here's the thing. This came to mind because of actually something I saw on a YouTube video I was watching on a cooking channel yesterday. And they talked about how they thought it was funny that the video that they were in that was up on YouTube that I was watching was going to be around after they were gone. And that it would sort of never die, even once they did. And it just got me thinking. And then Prof T talking about legacy this morning kind of triggered it, that what we're doing every day when we interact with each other in this digital landscape, that is social media, that is, content platforms like YouTube, what we're doing is we're building legacy. We're creating the opportunity for us to have impact on the world long after we're no longer physically a part of it, that we can create things that will outlive us, and that social media and these content platforms and the democratization of digital content has created that opportunity. And I think many of us, myself included, have broadly squandered that opportunity and not really thought about it with any intention prior to now or recent history. And so I would just encourage everyone, as you leave here today, as you create content, as you share things, as you comment, as you ask questions and drop tips, as we like to say here, just remember that you're creating legacy, that the things that you share, the impact that you have can far outlive your time here. It will live on, to quote or to paraphrase Bill Shakespeare, it will live on after we have shuffled off of this mortal coil. And so make sure you do it to make the world a better place and to leave it better than we found it. And that's what I've got for today. That's my wrap up. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Dom, for welcoming me back, even though I left you high and dry last week. And I appreciate it. And appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate you being here with Dom and I as we struggle to not be the smartest guys in the room, always surrounding ourselves with brilliant folks such as yourselves. So thanks so much for being here. We love you, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Until then, have a great week. Bye, everybody.